Hello everyone, it's Tommy Hensel, and normally I would be posting primarily as Table for One Please, which is my YouTube channel and my Instagram and my Twitter, and I will be posting this on my Table for One YouTube channel, but this week I decided I would get back into the groove of doing videos in my kitchen again, but this time it's because I'm hosting a Pampered Chef party, so I wanted to highlight tonight some of the things that I use almost every day from Pampered Chef. So what I decided to do is to pick something that I could cook that would require some preparation in advance so I can show you some of the prep tools that I use. And I didn't want to go to the grocery store because grocery shopping is kind of dramatic during this pandemic. And I didn't want to order in. So I decided to sort of schlep through my kitchen to see, did I have the ingredients for anything? And it turns out I have everything to make a really nice old-fashioned beef stew. So that's what I'm going to be making tonight. You see my cast iron behind me getting ready. So I want to talk a little bit first about some of the Pampered Chef products that I use nearly every day. First, cutting boards. This little one is called a bar board, and it doesn't have a non-slip area on it like these others do, but it does come with a little mat. I use this for cutting, like for the bar, for cutting lemons, small things like that. There's also this size cutting board, and you'll notice they have the rubber on them, and what you can't see is that there are measurements on here, so you could actually like lay things out and measure them when you're cutting. And these are non-slip because of that rubber. I use this medium-sized one quite a lot, but the one that I use the most often is this larger one, and I like it because on this side you'll notice it has this sort of well around the outside, so if you're slicing something like a chicken or a roast or anything that might have juice attached to it, the juice will not run all over your counter. It'll go into this little well. But for today, I don't need it because the only couple of things I'm going to be chopping for you are vegetables, so they aren't going to slide all over the place. Of the Pampered Chef products that I use nearly every day, obviously the cutting board, I use all of these prep materials constantly, literally every day. These two are called batter bowls. So I think they were obviously originally designed for baking. And in fact, when I do bake, I will create the batter in one of these things because like they were designed to do, you can then pour out. But they come in a 4-cup and an 8-cup version, and I use them constantly when I'm prepping things like this beef stew, when I want to chop things in advance and not have to freak out when it's time for dinner. Everything is done, so I'm creating my mise en place in advance. So what I've done for the beef stew is I've measured out 3.5 cups of broth and put it in this batter bowl. This one is going to be the vegetables that I add to the beef stew. So those I use constantly. The other thing that I use every day, multiple times a day, and in fact at a recent party I bought additional versions of all of these, are these great prep bowls. This is 1 cup. This one is 2 cups with a nice top to it, and it's got measurements in both milliliters and cups on all of them. And then these are 3-cup ones, and I use them constantly for prepping things in advance and putting the lid on them and sticking them in the refrigerator. So what I have tonight is I've chopped up the onion earlier today and thrown it in. I found out I had some Brussels sprouts in the refrigerator, so I'm going to throw those in my beef stew. So those are chopped in halves right now. I'm not using the 2-cup for anything tonight. I measured out the flour and some seasonings that I'm going to use to toss onto the meat before I brown it. So that's all ready to go. So all I have to do is throw that in the Ziploc. And then here I've got a little over 2 tablespoons of red wine vinegar that I'll use to deglaze the pan after I brown the beef. But what I'm going to add to that is some garlic. And this is a garlic press that I use pretty frequently when I don't feel like banging the garlic and cutting it myself, which is kind of fun if you need to get out your aggression, which I do lately. But the good thing about it is this one is peeled, but this one is not completely peeled. It really doesn't make any difference. When you press it into wherever you are pressing it, I always use a little knife to slice it off and make a mess like I always do. But what you have left is the part that's just the skin. I can get rid of that. And then it comes with this handy little piece for cleaning that you put here that pokes through the holes, so it's easier to get what's left inside out. And then it becomes super easy to clean it at that point. I'm going to put some more garlic in that a little bit later, but we're going to move on. So I love that garlic press, and they have different versions of garlic presses, but I kind of like that one for for a general prep. And I've got garlic all over my fingers now. So yay. You will notice that I'm a total nerd for measuring products. Besides all these, if you look in my cabinet, I've got these regular Pyrex 2-cup measuring cups. I've got 2 of those. You can see probably all the extra batter of these little prep bowls that I'm not using tonight. And I've got multiple measuring spoon sets. But one of the ones I love the most are these cool things from Pampered Chef. It's wet and dry. So this is a little tiny one that I bought recently. I haven't used it yet, but I love it. This is the larger one. If you're doing wet ingredients, you just read up the side and you measure and you pour. If you're doing dry ingredients, you find the measurement on the side, let's say 1 cup, then you fill it up to 1 cup, level it off, and then to get it in the bowl, you do that and it pops out. I love those. One of the other things I use frequently are these scrapers. For instance, if I'm doing batter in one of these, you're going to have to scrape down the sides. I tend to use this medium-sized one the most, but the little one comes in pretty handy for smaller bowls. And I also very often use these to stir fry because the 2 of them work really well together and they're very heat resistant. So cool things there as well. But what I want to show you now are my favorite measuring cups. These are sort of I think they call them easy read. It's like truth in advertising. 4 cups, 2 cups, and 1 cup. They're really nice because they sit flat and they're angled, and I can see clearly all of the markings on the inside. Unlike with the Pyrex, which has the red markings on the side, I'm constantly holding it up to the light trying to see. These are black. You probably can't see it from that far away, but it's really nice. This particular recipe, like many good beef stew recipes, calls for using red wine. So I'm using a nice Napa Valley Cabernet Franc tonight because I believe, like Julia Child, that you should never cook with a wine that you're not going to drink. So I need a cup of wine. So let's see. There's a little bit for me, a little bit for the stew, a little bit for me. Let's see. Oh, look. A little bit more for the stew. A little bit more for me. Okay, I'm going to finally finish off the cup here. There we go. You can see it super clear where the line is. I didn't have to hold it up to the light. And voila, I have my 1 cup of red wine that will go in after I've deglazed the pan when I'm getting ready to start the beef. Cheers. Of course, move the garlic out of the way. I have to put vegetables into the beef stew. So I already prepped the Brussels sprouts and the onions. I had an acorn squash that I hadn't used up, so I thought I would use that up today. And I'm going to do some sweet potato first. And what I love, just because I like things to look pretty, I like this crinkle cutter that comes from Pampered Chef. You basically just sort of rock it back and forth, and you get this really nice crinkle cut on your veggies. So I'm going to throw those in there. So I'm going to cut the rest of these up in a little while. I have this carrot from Imperfect Produce. You could bludgeon someone to death with this carrot. So I am going to cut it in half first, and then So I had a little technical glitch there and had to restart the camera. So I stopped, I think, at cutting the carrot in half. So anyway, I did some crinkle cutting of the carrot. So you have these beautiful crinkle cut carrots. And it's so easy. The sort of rocking motion back and forth doesn't really take a lot of pressure. And it gives you just this really nice finish on the food. So I think that's kind of it for tonight. I've showed you some of my favorite Pampered Chef products. So I'm going to go off and start making my beef stew. And a little bit later this week, I'll come up with something else that I can put together to show off some of the products that maybe I don't use every day, but I'm really happy to have them when I need them. Because every once in a while I buy things just because I know I'm going to need them a few times a year, but boy, they're awesome to have when you need them. So thanks for watching, and tune in again for my next video, which will be one more homage to Pampered Chef. Thanks, everybody.